money and the love you put into your home, you must protect it before the temperatures drop too low. So we've got contractor Chris McGimsie here to help us. I love this topic because really, if you are a homeowner, you know that's where most of your wages go. That's where you do most of your projects. You're spending big bucks on it. And you have to make sure that it's going to be good all seasons. You know, if you're living in a climate where there is winter, you've got to protect it, especially your wood projects that are outdoor. So you've worked with clients before and done beautiful things with them. I'm going to show you a project right now, this gorgeous exterior cedar project. I mean, it looks beautiful and it's perfectly done. What did you say to them when you were finished building it?
Well, because we use a natural product like cedar, I suggested right away to seal it and to treat it.
Yes.
I offered to do it, but they said we can handle doing it ourselves. I advised them within weeks, if not days, that the cedar will start to wear. It tends to look like an old gray barn.
Okay.
Natural cedar like this Western red cedar gets that silvery sheen right away.
Okay, so we can show you actually the old barn we're talking about because he drove by the other day.
I drove by the other day. It actually broke my heart a little bit. That is just over a year old. So that was done at the end of last summer, and they let it go an entire summer, winter, spring, and summer without doing anything to it. And now you can see the part that's hanging out from the porch is all gone gray, and the part that's under the porch looks like it did last year. So it doesn't look very good. And I advise them not to. And the thing is, because we use cedar, cedar is a premium product, so it costs a lot to buy it and to make it. So I said, use pressure-treated material. They said, we love cedar, but I said, you have to look after it.
You've got to look after it.
You know, they chose not to listen. So
you have to know who you are in terms of, you know, being okay with maintenance. Because cedar, I love the look of cedar, but then I don't want the old gray barn, right? If you're into that, then fine. So let's talk about what you could do to keep it looking that fresh, sort of orange tint. So a lot of cedar, a lot of people like to just use a clear coat, a water-based clear finish that will preserve that natural color. This one has a bit of a tint in it, so it's going to in fact change the color a little bit. But you know, if these clients had listened to my advice or done their due diligence or anything at all.
Well, I got paid in full, so I'm happy. It's just kind of heartbreaking to drive by and you see your work and it was neglected, and it seems to be a little foolish. So this is a water-based stain. I love water-based stuff because it's easy to clean up.
Yes.
And it has the natural cedar tones to it. Right? This is great to apply with a roller. And, you know, do this every other year. You have to pay attention to the climate. You can't do this in the hottest parts of the year. You cannot do this in July. Generally, most exterior painting is done between the months of May and October, but you have to pay attention to the manufacturer's recommendations. And if it's a really hot day, you know, this stuff starts to get really sticky and really tacky. So now's a really good time of year, as the temperatures start to cool off, to do these kind of jobs. Now,
are you having to do anything to the wood before you put this stain on?
Well,
you don't have to prime it like you would if it was paint. You just put the stain on, and it's going to protect it.
You can lightly sand this.
Okay.
With cedar, for the most part, people like to use cedar because they like the natural tones to it. So we generally don't prime or paint cedar. We usually generally prime or paint natural pine, like the next piece over here.
Okay.
So
cedar's one thing. You've got to keep it protected if you want it to look that shiny new look right away. You've got to seal it and make sure it's protected. Let's talk a little bit about pine.
So this is clear pine. For the most part, people don't build a lot of decks and fences out of clear pine. This is what you'd build your front porch of, or all your exterior trim work. Again, it's a natural product, but we don't always want to protect and seal it from deterioration. It's also the hardware that we use to build these projects. So the nails, the screws, all the fastening hardwares, that the sealant and the primer protects the hardware from deteriorating, rotting, and, you know, breaking and falling apart. So the primer as well will also seal all these knots. A couple of these knots have fallen out, but in a greater project, we want to seal these knots because over time they start to leach sap and they also start to fall and pop out. So this is easy. I would do this with the brush for the primer, but for the paint, you know, I would suggest maybe doing the paint with a roller. But this is exterior grade primer. It's water based. For the most part, most paint manufacturers now are not making oil-based paints and primers anymore, which I never really liked to begin with.
Why didn't you like them?
Because they're really messy to clean up. Now, this is water-based. You can use soap and water. You get on your hands, it's easy to wash up. You get on your deck, your sidewalk, or the kids step in it, or you get into your car. Like, this is, you know, kind of a no-brainer. I really like this. But
now, between the cedar and the pine is going to be a way more affordable a product for you to buy, right?
100%.
In terms of maintenance, is it less fussy?
No.
It's
that
not.
is far much that is a lot fussier.
Okay, so the cedar is fussier than the pine.
Yeah.
So people could use the pine. I don't know how you feel about them in comparison. If you find that a family is they don't want to use a lot of maintenance on their exterior projects, would you sort of steer them in that direction?
For a deck or a fence, I would recommend to use pressure-treated material.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the way to go.
The new pressure-treated material looks like cedar, so I would recommend that for the cost. This is something that you would do, like I said, your porch. You'd never build a deck out of this just because they're wrought, right? This is something you do your porch or your porch railings or any intricate gingerbread or fretwork is what you would do your clear pine out of.
So everyone who built their porch out of this is now saying, uh-oh. Okay, so we know a little bit about maintenance now. We decided to throw it out to our viewers on our Facebook page. We asked them if they had any questions for you, Chris, regarding winter prep. Holy moly, did you have questions, which is great. We're going to start with Amanda. Amanda asks, what are some quick economical things I can do to keep the warm air in and the cold air out? It's a simple question, but we are talking like saving hundreds of dollars if you do it right. What can she do? Well,
first and foremost, I would say spray foam is by far your probably most economical solutions. You can buy spray foam pretty much anywhere, Home Depot, any big box store it's available. I like the nozzle, I like the application's really easy. The next step I would say is weather stripping. So it sounds like these are around windows and doors, these kind of issues, right? So weather strip around the doors, spray foam all those gaps. And then if you find that the problems continue, now's the time to bring in a pro and remove those windows and doors and, in fact, have them replaced. So do the DIY solutions with the spray foam, with the weather stripping, maybe some exterior silicone, and then if it gets bad, it's time to replace that window or that door.
Good stuff. And you can start doing it now, the tour around your house and seeing where the air pockets are, where that is coming in so you can protect it.
Yeah, now's a great time of year for all that.
Absolutely.